Right here.
Indonesia. That's where we'll find the gold.
Hangman is coming down from the gallows, and I don't have very long.
Wait! We found nothing and the workers are leaving. Wait. Kenny, look. We got a gold mine. We got a gold mine. We got a gold mine. We got a gold mine.
Yeah, for better or worse, the ride had begun. And what a ride.
I never doubted you for a second.
This is Ryan Wolf in New York.
They were coming at me from all sides.
We believe you're sitting on the largest gold find of the decade.
We're talking over $30 billion.
Hello, welcome to What the Flick. Christy, Alonzo, Ben. We're talking about Gold, not the Spandau Ballet song, although it's been stuck in my head for like 3 weeks now. But the actual movie with Matthew McConaughey. I did not see it, I'm sorry to say. I didn't get a screener of it. You guys got screeners of it.
I had to borrow somebody else's.
Okay, Ben got a screener.
I got a screener.
All right, we'll talk about it then, please.
All right, well, first of all, let me start by saying this much is true. So Gold is based on a true story, but super loosely based on a true story. And in this version, in the 1980s, the son of a successful prospector, modern prospector, businessman prospector, played by Matthew McConaughey, plays the son. Sort of in emerging from his father's shadow, teams up with a. Where's he from? Edgar Ramirez? Yeah. The character? I don't remember, but somewhere in Latin America, Edgar Ramirez. And he's a veteran prospector, a guy who handles the site, geologist. And they come up with a site in Indonesia that they think will have gold. And the story then is of their discovery of gold. Perhaps they lose everything, perhaps they get it back, perhaps they lose everything again, maybe they get it back at the end. That's largely what happens. But it is mostly interesting for the study of the character that Matthew McConaughey plays, because you've never seen Matthew McConaughey looking this dreadful.
Other very powerful people are very angry.
The military is taking over the mine.
These people are using you.
They can just steal it away.
This is the FBI!
The gold is mine. I found it.
And the only question I'm left with is, how did $17 billion disappear overnight?
That I don't have very long.
So yeah, so the Matthew McConaughey's appearance was a big deal because I think I was into this movie and I then researched the real story, and the real story is a Canadian company in the 90s, not the 80s. Much of it is true. The involvement with the dictator's son is true. The crazy way one of the guys exits the picture is true. But they moved it to the 80s, maybe to distance themselves from any legal issues. Well, change the character's name, but also so McConaughey took on that. I was reading Mick LaSalle's review in the Chronicle, San Francisco Chronicle, and McConaughey took on this role and this appearance. He's not playing a real person. He chose to make himself have this pot belly and gaining all this weight and the receding hairline, crazy receding hairline, and constantly drinking and constantly smoking. But he called it Matthew McConaughey goes grotesque. But I was into that grotesque nature of Matthew McConaughey. Well, I was into that guy. I mean, it's not like he's playing Aileen Wuornos. I mean, he's just playing a business guy, like a run-of-the-mill business guy. But they seem to be, there's a tooth issue. No, yes, he's not playing a run-of-the-mill business guy, I don't think. They seem to be making a point of his appearance. Like it's there to a degree. There was like look we're Charlize Theroning up Matthew McConaughey. I mean he's definitely going full bore ugly American. Yeah. I'll give you that. I think the move to the 80s actually is a smart one because this movie plays in so much of that whole sort of the Gordon Gekko decade, of the sort of pursuit of, well, not that ever goes away, but like the I think greed was sort of underlined and italicized in the 80s. I really admired this movie because it made me think I was watching a movie that I didn't care about
and then midway through made a pivot and turned into a movie I did care
That's
about.
right. I think
and I like when a movie fools me into thinking, it's like Arrival, with the subplot about Amy Adams and her child. You think it's going to be something that you've seen a million times. It's like, oh, no, it's not. And this one kind of does the same thing, where it starts out seeming like an unironic celebration of greed and rapaciousness, and then actually has a commentary on that. And so I found it entertaining. I liked McConaughey's performance. I liked Ramirez. I wish Bryce Dallas Howard had been given more to do.
Yeah, she's there solely to give him humanity.
Yeah, we talked about how Rooney Mara in Lion is basically just there to be the girl, and that's sort of what they do with her as well. But I once this movie kind of makes a pivot, I was constantly unsure where it was going to go next, and that was exciting, and that's rare.
So it has bite in a way that the founder does not, it sounds like.
Oh, very much so. Yeah, I think so, because it actually, I think, has a. It's not just that it has a more established or more pronounced point of view, but I think that it kind of calls into question the audience's complicity for what they thought about the character before the thing happens, as opposed to after.
You're I think throughout unclear on what you're supposed to think of McConaughey.
Right.
Like you think, this is an awful, ugly American, and you're like, well, he's sort of looking out for people, and then you're like, no, he is awful, and then it moves back and forth in a very credible way. It's also a really nice contrast between he really looks horrible. I mean, his hair, you can't get past his hair, and he's got the tooth, and he's just, I mean, he's constantly smoking and constantly drinking, and he gets malaria in the movie. He's a mess. And then next to him is Ramirez, who's like, the beard is cut perfectly. He's like so handsome, and McConaughey's like moving around and figuring like this, and he's a disaster. He looks like a heart attack waiting to happen, and Ramirez is frequently just standing next to him, like tracking him with his head, looking so dashing, and it ends up sort of working because they're, and then when you're led to, there's a moment, a very hokey line about friendship, then saved by Ramirez pointing out that it was a hokey line about friendship. Like I literally went, oh. So it's this interesting relationship that develops between these guys, both of whom you're wondering throughout whether you're getting the whole story.
But that seems like that kind of performance is consistent with the McConaughey, right? When he stopped trying to be the hunky romantic comedy guy and let himself play these unlikable characters and unattractive characters, that makes him much more interesting when he's not trying to make us like him. Yeah,
I mean, I always think of, obviously, I think his big physical appearance performance was in Dallas Buyers Club, where he lost all that weight and everything. And this movie, I mean, you're right. And maybe that's part of the 80s thing, was like for people to smoke this much.
Yeah.
The 80s was like the last decade we could pull that
you
up.
You could smoke indoors still.
Yeah. So like at one point, like McConaughey's father's office is like on hard times. So they lose the actual office space, and they have to move all the people that work there and the phones into the bar where Bryce Dallas Howard works. And so it's just like, it's this very smoky, kind of seedy bar, and they're all in their booths, like making their cold calls and trying to get investments. The one thing I will call this movie out on, like the jukebox in that bar is playing like Richard and Linda Thompson. It's like, y'all were not that cool in the 1980s if you were smoking this much. I don't think so.
Okay, so what are your numbers then?
I give it a 7.5.
Yeah, I gave it a 7.3, and I could just as easily give it a 7.5. There was, I was into it. It has a nice ending.
A great final scene. I thought
really great,
fun
really
twist.
great final scene. A twist you don't see coming.
So their numbers are 7.4. It's really low on the tomato meter. It's only at 34%. So I wonder what people are saying.
Yeah,
they don't like it.
I'm into it. This is a pretty good movie, and two good performances in it. Everybody else is good too. They just she has some nice scenes. She has one.
Yeah,
one nice scene.
It's not her fault. It's the script. But I hope this doesn't get lost in the January shuffle, because there's some.
It certainly is for it's a 8. It's a 9.3 on a January.
Oh God,
yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.